What happened when Robin Dunbar's new study came out about men needing 2 guy nights per week in order to stay healthy?
I saw it mentioned a bunch of times on various social media channels, and it was basically saying that men need 2 guy nights a week, sort of for their health and their mental health. Obviously, male suicide is a massive issue, especially in Western society, and one of the most sort of key factors of male suicide is male loneliness, male isolation. So he was looking into that, and he found that 2 nights a week for guys is sort of the ample amount. And then, as social media normally does, it sort of kicks off. Everyone goes crazy. Everyone's whining, making it about themselves, and everyone found the idea of 2 guy nights a week for men just too intolerable. And then they want to know how many nights for women. It's got to be 7 at least, and all I want is time alone, and maybe it's great if they go so you don't have to spend time with them. And honestly, the comments on each of those posts are all the same, just a bunch of whiny narcissists making it about themselves and just totally ignoring the fact that male suicide is a massive issue. Male loneliness is a key part of that, and I'm sure you've seen the comments for yourself, Chris.
Yeah, some of my favorites. And this is why women don't want to have their babies. This article was written by a man-child. Everyone caters to men enough as it is. We're tired of hearing you whining. The world is your playground and you still cry all the time.
This is like really great to sort of self-select, because those women are all taking themselves out of men's lives, and we all appreciate that too. They all sound like really horrible people, and people just sort of, they painted in a picture of their own creation. They were like, oh, you don't want to spend time with your children or your wives, and no one said anything about children. Not talking about fathers, talking about men as a general group. And the point was lost completely of male isolation and loneliness is a massive issue right now. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to spend a bit of time with your mates. It doesn't necessarily mean have to be at a pub. It could be playing computer games. It could be like this. It's just the idea of men talking and sharing time together is a really, really important issue. And unfortunately, just a mere mention of that is too much for some people to handle.
Can you steel man the other side? What's the best interpretation of why people had a problem with men getting 2 nights a week to themselves?
I've learned about a meme called, is it Saturdays are for the boys, which became like a toxic meme where the idea was that Saturday was supposed to be the boys' night. And I know I've dated quite a few women that have had really fair complaints about men that they've dated where they play Xbox every single night, or they do go and see the boys every other night and get drunk and hungover the next day. And like all things, if you peel back all the outrage and hysteria, there is actually a fair point. And I do feel like there are some valid criticisms of men spending too much time together. I don't buy into the whole toxicity of male-only spaces. I think male-only spaces are a really important part of men understanding each other, male bonding, male socialization. I feel the exact same way about women's spaces, but I feel like there's a lot of women out there who have had a very negative set of experiences of sort of dating men who are not given the time they want or deserve. So I think there's probably a fair reason behind it. I just wish they would tone it down a little bit.
But why is it? What do you think triggered that issue? Is it just more sort of low resolution thinking about male privilege? Oh, well, they've already got it easy in the office, and then they're not going to contribute to the housework, and they're going to go out with their friends. Is it a threat somehow that spending time with the boys is a threat to the relationship?
I just think it seems to stem from a very fundamental misunderstanding of male loneliness and a set of experiences that I don't think women can quite understand what it is like to be a lonely man, and the unique sense of isolation many men feel and how that links to male suicide. I just don't think they can quite understand the same experience. And also people just struggle to comprehend of the idea of men having issues inflicted upon them. People are happy to talk about male suffering, but only in the context of it's the man doing it to himself, it's his toxic masculinity, or it's the bloody patriarchy backfiring. People struggle or are just totally disinterested in the idea that something is happening to men that they do not have control over, they do not have agency or autonomy over, and they are the victims in their own right. And male isolation is not a self-inflicted problem. Part of it surely is, but it's a much wider issue. And one of those issues is people not wanting to talk about male guys' nights and thinking it's inherently a bad thing, which it isn't. I mean, I went to one house party ages ago at uni. I went to a house party, and no women turned up. No, not a single woman turned. One woman turned up and then left, and it was just the ultimate sausage fest. And I tell you, it was the best house party I've ever been to. And it was just like everyone stopped trying to like just like basically fuck women. Everyone stopped trying to impress women and alpha each other. And it was just the lads. We had like arm wrestle tournaments. We had like we had this massive giant banana hanging from the ceiling that everyone was trying to kick. It was just like the most amazing house fight I've ever been to. And it was like it was almost like it was spiritual almost. And I'm just like, I really believe in it. And I guess it paints the wider problem is a lack of male spaces and how society is impacted and damaged as a result of that, like youth clubs, for example, and the closing of youth clubs in London and how that impacts knife crime going up. Because closing these male spaces, like Boy Scouts, for example, like the boys and men go elsewhere, and often they're taken to gangs. And then you obviously got to look at that within the context of like fatherlessness and the lack of male role models in schools and the lack of male role models in TV. Overall, like we're just losing these male spaces and these conversations for men. And that's my perspective of it.
Yeah, it's strange. I wonder how much of it is that women don't know what guys get up to when it's just them and their guy friends. I wonder whether they think that it's, that this is finally the patriarchy getting their opportunity to plot the downfall. It's that I wonder if he's thinking of me meme over. And it's always like a dude thinking that if he doesn't do this next deadlift, his whole family's going to die. Or him and his friends like seeing who can do the loudest fart using a decibel meter that someone's brought in from work. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't think women quite understand what it is to be with the boys. It's interesting. It's that classic story you hear where, husband goes out, spends the night with the lads, comes home, and the next day his wife or girlfriend is asking him all about it and what's so-and-so up to and how are the children? And he knows none of it. Like he's not asking anything about your family or friends or what you're doing, how's it work. We just talk about the most random, like who's going to win a fight between King Kong and Godzilla, etc., etc., etc. And that's like, I feel like that's great. Like it's a chance to like unwind and not talk about really intense things and like relax, I think. And
it's an interesting duality, right? Because on one side, there is this push for men to open up and talk about their feelings more, for them to get in touch with their feelings, to be emotionally more mature, to be more well-balanced members of society. But this requirement of men to be with other men, like if you were to say that brunch with the girls is like part of a misandrist conspiracy theory to keep men out from bottomless Prosecco meetings or something, it would be ridiculous. But because for a long time, some male-only spaces were vaulted positions of power in which there were meetings going on where, how the high-powered lawyers and the people that were doing investments and so on and so forth. But in January of last year, the highest number of female CEOs ever were recruited, and it was like over a third of CEOs were women. I don't know how many women want to be CEOs. My point being that a lot of male spaces have been destroyed, and a lot of the upper echelons that were gendered spaces have also been cut down for precisely that reason. But it's also caused all of the stuff at the bottom end of the funnel to get destroyed too. Like Boys Night got that puberty post got thousands and thousands of comments from people, mostly women, almost exclusively women, who had problems with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to get distracted by the one single post. It's it's just a much wider problem, and it doesn't go both ways. Although we are closing down these male spaces, we're not doing the same to women's spaces. Women's spaces are held up and protected and funded and set up in more or less every corner of society, and like quite rightly so. Like there's like even like Boy Scouts does accept girls, but Girl Scouts doesn't accept boys. That was one of the first conversations I had with someone, and by conversation I mean someone shouting in my face. And they were like, it was a friend of mine who's a woman, and she was like, I went to Boy Scouts, I really enjoyed it. And I was like, that's great. I really think girls should have the opportunity to learn these skills. I went to Boy Scouts, and it's amazing, like learning to tie knots and like have kayaks and stuff. And then I asked her, like, what can boys go to Girl Scouts? And then she was like, I knew you were going to say that, finger in face, shouting. And I was just like, wow, okay. And the answer is no.
And then you ruined Christmas.
Yeah. And there's just so many examples.
Well, what about International Men's Day? That didn't have a good run either last year.
It's getting better. It's getting better and better. So like every year, I mean, I do the same thing every year. I check out Google and I really hope for like a bespoke Google Doodle. You know, every year you have like International Women's Day, of course, gets one. There's even International Bobblehead Dog Day. And I'm not joking. There's actual day for bobblehead dogs, and they've got a fucking Google Doodle. And I'm like, are you telling me men do not matter as much as a plastic dog that sits on your dashboard? And clearly they don't. But people talk about International Men's Day, and they put it within the context of it. Oh, that sounds like White People Day, or Straight Pride Day, or Able-Bodied Day. And I'm like, I always find those are such false equivalences. To say being a man is the same as being white, or the same as being able-bodied. I'm like, well, let's go the other way. I don't think being a woman is the same as being black, and I don't think being a woman is the same as being disabled. I find those concepts so offensive. I mean, as a white person, I'm happy to say like being white in the West is more or less excellent in every single possible way. But being a man comes with a mixed bag of advantages, disadvantages. So it's not the same as being white. And everyone says that to wave away International Men's Day as unnecessary. And I think it's really necessary because it actually allows us to talk about some of the issues that are quietly damaging men and boys from sort of birth right to sort of later life and death. And there needs to be a space for these discussions, either a space for discussion online or actual physical spaces for men to talk, or house parties.
Or kicking a banana on the ceiling.
Yeah, honestly, I was the first person to kick the banana, by the way, and I was like a king. I got carried.
A god amongst men.
I got carried out of the house. Honestly, amazing.
This episode is brought to you by Element. Stop having coffee first thing in the morning. Your adenosine system that caffeine acts on isn't even active for the first 90 minutes of the day, but your adrenal system is, and salt acts on your adrenal system. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium with no sugar, no gluten, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, or any other BS. It plays a critical role in reducing muscle cramps and fatigue while optimizing brain health, regulating appetite, and curbing cravings. The orange flavor in a cold glass of water is literally the best way to start your morning. I've done it every single day for over 3 years now, way before they were a partner on the show, and I love it. Best of all, there is a no BS, no questions asked refund policy, so you can buy absolutely risk-free, and if you do not like it for any reason, they will give you your money back, and you don't even need to return the box. Right now, you can get a free sample pack of all 8 flavors with your first box by going to the link in the description below, or heading to drinklmnt.com/modern wisdom. That's drinklmnt.com/modern wisdom. If you enjoyed that clip, you will love the full-length episode, which you can watch right now, right here. Go on, tap it.